Manila is a huge metropolis with gnarly traffic and hustle that just doesn't stop. Plus, it's hot. At a certain point, it's time to get out. I jump a bus and head for the cooler highlands. Bus gave way to tricycle, and tricycle gives way to feet. The deeper I push, the more primitive the trail. Steep, uneven, and relentless. I drop into a land much different than Manila. In fact, it's much different than anything I've ever seen before. Once upon a time, two brothers chased a wild boar into the realm of the gods, Kabunyan. As they slayed the beast, its cries caught the attention of the sky deity, Lidam. He wasn't happy with the trespass. So the brothers split the kill and presented half of it to him as a peace offering. They noticed that the god ate his food raw, so one brother pulled out a piece of flint, made a fire, and cooked his share, offering some to Lidam. Lidam so enjoyed the taste of it that he had to have some of this thing called fire. So he traded with the brothers. He gave them a special kind of rice that came with a special set of rituals. This is the land of that rice and the land of those rituals. The rice terraces of the Philippine Cordilleras have been around for a long time, thousands of years. They were built by hand. The primeval jungles above them feed water through stacked paddies, so scenic you'd swear there was a master gardener or architect at work. But for the native people, the Ifugao, the purpose was purely utilitarian. Their ancestors, likely from Indonesia, planted rice on the sloping hills of these mountains. When they realized rice plants grew bigger and healthier in areas where water pooled, they carved out more pools, and soon the terraces began to take shape. No local fully grasped the scope, the stunning beauty they'd created, generation by generation, until the first travelers arrived, avidly snapping pictures on strange devices everyone now knows as cameras. The Ifugao were creating a sustainable food supply and had unwittingly designed a masterpiece. I've come here not just to take a few photos and observe, but to entrench myself a bit in the life of this environment. To step into the mud that's been worked for over 2,000 years, sustaining a unique region and people. Ultimately, I want to get into the terraces. Before we get there, I must find a certain kind of man somewhere in an Ifugao village. In the West, we idealize personal space and individual adornment, having that secluded house on the hill that outshines our distant neighbors. Here, they abhor that concept as antisocial, something that rips at the threads of community. And you can see it in the design. There's no walls, no fences, everything's close together. Everyone washes their dishes over here. Everyone takes a shower down there. Neighbors walk to and fro. Oh, and every house has a skeleton in the closet, or rather, the attic. Their relationship with the dead and with the ethereal here is perhaps more intimate than the Western mind might feel comfortable with. Wrapped in those blankets are the bones of ancestors, dug up, sanctified in ritual, and placed so the spirits of the forefathers continue to have a presence in this home. Occasionally, bodies are mummified whole, one generation embracing the next in a cadaverous cuddle under the sleep of hundreds of years. This is the tradition of the Ifugao, a spiritual people whose world is shared with the gods and with their dead. I find the environment both welcoming and discomforting, a gentle rebuke of my own Western upbringing, where my ancestors are buried in distant fields and forgotten, and my neighbors are ostracized behind property lines. Check this out.
typical Ifugao house, but obviously one from a wealthy resident, not only because it's adorned with the skulls of animals that have been sacrificed, but specifically water buffalo skulls, which is an expensive animal to kill. Inside, no chimney, smoke would just billow around, the smoke that they made for cooking fires, giving this wood the dark color, also preserving the wood. The residents slept here, in the back, the cooking, atop a granary. This area down below you would think would just be a natural place where you would chill on a hot summer day, but no, it was preserved only for special occasions, wedding perhaps, or a funeral.
It probably goes without saying that sacrifice is an integral part of the Ifugao culture. Almost all big events are accompanied with death. The gods both bless and consult through blood. Deeper in the village, this tradition continues as I find the person I've been seeking.
This poor chicken is in its last moments of its life. It's about to be sacrificed to determine whether this is an auspicious time to plant the rice. Basically, they're looking for the level of bile inside the chicken, and if the level is at a proper point, they'll say, okay, it's time to plant now, otherwise they'll... Woo.
The Mombaki recites his archaic incantation. I feel a link to the past in this moment. A time when the several tribes of these mountains fought each other, axe to spear. A time when a poor crop meant heaven was angry, and a good one signaled the approval of the mystical figures in the sky, the woods, and the homes.
It's tough to watch, but also I can't tear my eyes away. It's fascinating.
The whole affair is grisly, but it's also ancient and revered.
He literally ripped the chicken open with his hands, and now he's examining the bile duct. The reading was positive. The first chicken's gallbladder suggested that it's an auspicious time to work. The second one had a very specific reading. The way it was folded over gave the indication that the gods would be looking after the workers and protecting them as they did their labor in the field, on their way to work, on their way back from work. And I asked through a translator what would happen if the reading was negative. If there's a presentiment of a bad harvest, of bad fortune, more animals have to die. They're going to increase the sacrifice in order to appease the gods before they assume work in the fields. You could have a worse final moment of your life.
With strong images of sacrifice burned in my mind, I leave the ritual. It's time to work. Although I've spent a good deal of time in the outdoors pursuing recreation, I've never truly got a taste of country life. These small villages that accompany the terraces, often deep in the forest, are as rural as it gets. A tiny cluster of simple homes where every activity ultimately revolves around the rice crop. How could I claim to know them without getting my hands a little dirty and walking in their shoes? I climb up from the village to a lonely terrace being silently worked